The large space station named Aurora Gate floated quietly above a blue and green planet. Its silver surface reflected stars like shiny mirrors. Thousands of workers, guards, pilots, and scientists from many alien species lived inside the station. They walked through long hallways every day, worked on different machines, and studied new discoveries from deep space. For many months, humans worked in the maintenance sector. They fixed wires, repaired broken doors, and installed new hardware. Most aliens did not think much about humans. To them, humans were simple, emotional, and full of mistakes. They believed humans were slow thinkers and weak fighters. Many alien officers used to call them animals behind their backs. They laughed and rolled their eyes whenever a human entered a room, but everything changed after the scanner test. The scanner was a special device that could read muscle strength, training levels, and mental focus. It showed details about how strong or fast a worker could react. When the human's results appeared on the large digital screen, silence filled the room. The aliens could not believe it. The scanner numbers showed training equal to elite military programs. The humans also had small, harmless cybernetic parts inside their bodies, perfectly legal but unexpected. The news spread like fire. Now, as the news cycle began, aliens whispered in every hallway. They leaned close to each other and spoke softly, afraid the humans might hear them. "I saw the results myself," one tall alien guard said. "Those readings were real. They are trained like soldiers." Another alien with blue skin nodded nervously. "How can this be? We hired them as simple workers." A third alien spoke with worry. "Maybe humans are hiding something." Rumors traveled from the control deck to the cafeteria and even into high-ranking offices. Some aliens felt afraid. Some felt curious. Others felt angry, thinking humans were lying about their past. Captain Threx, the leader of security, heard the rumors too. He was tall with 4 arms and a serious face. Usually he stayed calm, but today he felt uneasy. He stood in the command room looking at reports on a glowing screen. Numbers did not lie. The scanner had scanned each human 3 times to be sure. He rubbed his chin slowly. Why would workers have military training? He asked himself. Outside his office, aliens continued whispering. The energy in the hall changed. People were no longer ignoring humans, they watched them now. Meanwhile, in the maintenance sector, humans continued their duties like nothing happened. They walked calmly with tools in hand, fixed wires, and checked emergency lights. They spoke politely and worked quietly. Their leader, Commander Hayes, was tall and had dark eyes. His voice was calm and friendly. He always smiled gently when talking to others. "Morning. Need help with that?" he asked a nervous alien technician. The technician gulped and shook his head. No, I'm fine." Hayes simply nodded and walked away. He did not notice the alien staring in shock at how calmly he moved. Another human named Lena repaired a flickering ceiling light. She balanced on a platform with perfect control. Her hands did not shake and her eyes were focused. 2 aliens watched from behind a wall. "How can she be so stable?" one whispered. "I do not know. My hands shake just thinking about heights," the other replied. More aliens gathered around corners pretending to check maps but actually observing humans. Each human moved with discipline. They worked as a team without speaking loudly. In the research department, a brilliant alien scientist named Errol studied the scanner data. Her skin was pale yellow and her eyes glowed softly. She was curious by nature and loved learning new things. She sat in front of 3 screens full of data charts. Her fingers tapped on the desk. "It does not make sense," she whispered. The scanner showed the human's heartbeat stayed calm during scans. Their breathing stayed steady. Their eye movements suggested strong mental training. These were not random results, Errol sighed. Maybe they are more than workers. She felt excited, not scared. She wanted to understand them, not judge them. The gossip did not stop. In the cafeteria, aliens stared at humans eating peacefully. Some aliens lowered their voices. "Do you think they are dangerous?" one asked. "They might be spies," another answered. A third alien shook his head. "No, look at them. They are calm. They smile. Dangerous beings do not smile." Still, none of them went near the humans. Commander Hayes sat with his team around a round table. He ate slowly and talked softly. "We continue our work as usual," he said calmly. "No need to worry about the rumors. We do nothing wrong." His team nodded. Even in a crowded room, they stayed calm like water. Later in the cycle, Captain Threx called his officers for a meeting. The room was filled with tension. A large holoscreen glowed in the center. "You all saw the reports," Threx began. His voice echoed lightly. "The humans show signs of advanced training, but they have shown no harm. Continue to observe. Do not treat them with disrespect." One officer raised a hand. "Captain, the workers are uneasy. They think trouble is coming." Threx took a deep breath. "Trouble arrives when fear controls us. Humans work well. We will not act without reason." His officers nodded slowly. On the other side of the station, Errol walked quietly through the maintenance sector. She wanted to see humans with her own eyes, not just in numbers. She found Lena working alone on a control panel. "Excuse me," Errol said politely. Lena turned with a kind smile. "Hello, need something?" Errol hesitated. "You work very efficiently. May I ask where you learned this?" Lena wiped her hands and answered gently. "Earth has many training programs. They teach us discipline and teamwork." Her voice was friendly and humble. Errol nodded slowly. She expected a secret, but instead got a simple answer. She walked away deep in thought. Maybe humans are not hiding anything, she thought. Hours passed. The atmosphere on Aurora Gate remained tense. Aliens peeked around corners and stared from windows. Even small children whispered to each other. "I heard humans jump very high," one child said. Another child widened his eyes. "I heard they can see in the dark." They giggled, half scared and half impressed. Later, Commander Hayes walked down a hallway when 3 alien guards blocked his path. "Not aggressively, just curious. Are you military?" the first guard asked. Hayes calmly shook his head. "No, we are trained, yes. But we are here to work, not fight." The guards stared into his calm eyes. They saw no anger, no fear, only peaceful confidence. "Thank you," the guard said quietly and stepped aside. Hayes continued walking without complaint. More cycles passed. Slowly, alien workers began to notice something else. Humans never bragged. They never scared anyone. They never disrespected anyone. When someone dropped tools, humans picked them up. When someone could not lift a heavy crate, a human helped politely. These small actions worked like warm light in cold space. Soon, some aliens smiled nervously when humans passed. Humans smiled back kindly. Errol watched this change from a distance. She kept notes in her digital pad. Calm behavior, helpful actions, polite communication, no aggression. She realized the upgrades and training were not used to dominate. They were used to protect and work better. "Interesting," she whispered again. Captain Threx studied live camera feeds. He watched humans work together on a maintenance project. Their movements were synchronized, like a team trained many years together. They did not speak loudly. They used small hand signals to communicate. Threx leaned closer. He could not deny the truth. They were not animals. They were something different, something disciplined. Later that night cycle, Hayes returned to his quarters and looked out a small window. Stars floated peacefully in the darkness. He sighed quietly. "Rumors create fear," he whispered to himself, "but truth creates understanding." He hoped tomorrow would be easier. Across the station, aliens lay awake in their quarters. Some felt nervous. Some felt curious. Some dreamed about humans running through training grounds. The station did not sleep peacefully. Energy shifted like wind before a storm. In a quiet office, Errol wrote one last note. "Tomorrow I will study humans more closely. Not to judge. To learn." She smiled and turned off the light. At the same time, in the deepest communication room, a secret message was sent to an unknown destination. Subject: Human enhancements detected. Scans confirmed. Awaiting instructions. The message traveled into silent space. Who sent it? And who would receive it? The stars kept their secrets. End of Part 1. The day began with a pale light reflecting off the silver walls of Aurora Gate. The space station hummed with energy. Machines whirred. Elevators moved, and workers of many species walked through long corridors. Humans continued their work as usual, calm and precise. They were no longer the objects of simple curiosity. They were becoming a focus of attention. Everywhere they went, small groups of aliens observed them, often from a safe distance. Some whispered while others only stared silently. Commander Hayes led a small team to the engineering bay. The bay was massive, filled with pipes, panels, and control systems. Aliens rarely came here unless ordered. The humans moved like they had done this 100 times before. Every movement was careful, coordinated, and deliberate. Check the pressure gauges, Hayes said quietly. Make sure nothing is over the limit. Lena crouched to inspect a broken panel. She pointed to a cable that had come loose. This wire was stressed. If we leave it, it could short the system, she said. A young alien engineer, Tariq, watched her with wide eyes. How do they know so quickly? He whispered to a colleague. They trained for years, I think, the other replied. Maybe longer than anyone here. Hayes noticed the whispering and smiled faintly, but he did not stop. Once the wire is secured, check the flow rate again. Keep steady. Don't rush. Lena adjusted the wire and another human named Marcus tested the controls. Within minutes, the system stabilized. No alarms, no sparks, everything worked perfectly. Tariq could not stop himself. He stepped forward. You fixed it so fast. Are you military? Hayes shook his head gently. We are trained. But we are here to maintain the station, not to fight. The alien froze. He wanted to ask more, but he realized that even asking might be seen as intrusive. He stepped back and watched silently. Meanwhile, Errol, the pale, yellow-skinned scientist, moved quietly through the sector. She had been observing humans for days, taking detailed notes. Today, she wanted a closer look at how they worked in a team. She found them assembling a complicated energy converter. The converter required careful placement of wires, precise adjustments of panels, and synchronized activation of tools. Hayes looked up and noticed her. You are welcome to observe, he said, but please do not interfere. This requires full focus. Errol nodded, understanding immediately. She took a small step back and watched. The humans communicated without words. Tiny hand signals, brief nods, and eye movements guided the group. They moved fluidly, almost like a single organism. Every action was planned and precise. Errol could not hide her fascination. They are extraordinary, she whispered. Not just strong. Their minds are disciplined too. She noticed something else. The humans never showed impatience. Even when a panel slipped from Lena's hands, she caught it calmly without losing focus. Another panel fell. Marcus adjusted without panicking. Every small action created a sense of quiet confidence. Errol realized that these humans were not dangerous, they were dependable. They would never start a fight, but if danger came, they would handle it calmly and efficiently. Later, Captain Threx entered the engineering bay. His forearms moved slowly as he observed. Normally, he commanded with authority and expected immediate attention. But today, he watched silently. You have unusual skill, Threx said finally. His deep voice filled the space. I expected only average workers. Yet you coordinate perfectly and your systems are flawless. Hayes smiled politely. We are here to help, Captain. Our goal is safety and order. Threx nodded slowly. I will admit, this is more than I expected. Continue your work. The captain turned and left, but his thoughts lingered on the humans. He realized they were disciplined, not reckless. They were calm, not impulsive. And most importantly, they inspired confidence rather than fear. Meanwhile, Errol took notes. She observed patterns in human behavior, how they divided work, how they monitored each other silently, and how they maintained calm even when small problems arose. She recorded every detail. Coordination. Humans moved as a team, with minimal verbal communication. Focus. Eyes, posture, and breathing suggested mental control beyond what most species practiced. Helpfulness. They never ignored someone struggling. They assisted politely and efficiently. By mid-cycle, Errol had a small theory forming. Humans were not just workers, they were highly trained, disciplined, and aware of their surroundings at all times. But they never sought attention or dominance. That was rare in any species she had studied. A sudden alarm interrupted the calm. One of the auxiliary power units was failing. The hum of the station grew louder as lights flickered. Aliens nearby froze. Some panicked. Hayes and his team moved quickly. Follow the procedure, Hayes ordered. Marcus, redirect power. Lena, stabilize the conduit. I will monitor the flow. Even under pressure, the humans worked with perfect timing. Their movements were precise, like a well-rehearsed plan. The flickering light stabilized. The alarm stopped. Aliens watching from a distance gasped. No one else could have fixed the system so quickly. Some aliens whispered. They are amazing, Errol clapped her hands softly. Remarkable, she said aloud. She had never seen any species maintain such calm efficiency in emergencies. After the crisis, the humans walked calmly back to their workstations. No one celebrated. No one boasted. They simply returned to their duties as if nothing had happened. A young alien named Kiri approached Hayes hesitantly. Why are you not showing pride? You just saved half the station. Hayes smiled gently. We do not work for pride. We work for safety. That is all. Kiri looked puzzled but slowly began to understand. Perhaps humans measured success differently. Perhaps their confidence was quiet, not loud. Meanwhile, the rumors across the station shifted. Aliens no longer called humans animals. They whispered new words: disciplined, dependable, and calm. Fear was replaced with curiosity. Some aliens wanted to study them. Others wanted to be near them. Even Captain Threx began to change his approach. Instead of merely observing, he started asking humans to help train his security teams in safety and coordination exercises. The humans agreed, but only in a supportive role. They never sought power or recognition. As the cycle ended, Errol returned to her quarters. She reviewed her notes carefully. She had learned a lot about humans. They were strong but not aggressive. They were fast learners but humble. They were disciplined but approachable. She realized that humans were not animals. They were guardians in their own right. Their enhancements were tools, not weapons. And the station itself would benefit from having them around. Errol smiled quietly. Tomorrow she planned to observe them again. She wanted to learn more. Not to test them, not to challenge them, but to understand why humans had such quiet confidence. That night, the station's lights dimmed. Humans returned to their quarters. Aliens whispered in small groups. Even children talked quietly about the strange, disciplined beings they had watched. Outside, the stars shone silently. The Aurora Gate floated like a silver pearl in space, and inside, humans slept calmly, unaware of how much their presence had already changed the perception of everyone around them. Somewhere in the distance, far beyond the station, sensors picked up unusual signals. Someone was observing. Someone was curious about the enhanced humans of Aurora Gate. But for now, humans continued their work. Calm, focused, and confident, quietly shaping the future without anyone realizing it. The day on Aurora Gate began like any other, with the hum of machinery and the soft glow of panels lining the long corridors. Aliens and humans alike moved through the station's decks, each carrying out their tasks. Yet an invisible tension lingered. Whispers about human enhancements had spread everywhere, and everyone watched quietly, curious or cautious. Humans, as always, continued their work calmly. Commander Hayes led his team to the engineering bay, where several power conduits had been scheduled for routine inspection. He moved with calm purpose, his steps measured, hands steady, eyes scanning the environment. Beside him, Lena and Marcus carried tools and control devices, speaking only when necessary. The tranquility of the station shattered suddenly. A loud alarm echoed through the corridors. Red warning lights blinked on panels across the station. A failure had occurred in one of the auxiliary reactors. Power fluctuations rippled across the decks, causing lights to flicker and minor machinery to shut down. The hum of the station shifted into an unsettling vibration. Aliens panicked almost immediately. Guards ran in all directions, some shouting for assistance, others trying to locate the source of the problem. Scientists abandoned their terminals, and even some senior officers froze, unsure what to do. But humans did not panic. Commander Hayes took a single deep breath and spoke calmly. "Follow the emergency protocol," he said. "Lena, Marcus, we move quickly but carefully." Their team moved like clockwork. Marcus rushed to the auxiliary reactor controls, while Lena navigated the conduits with precise steps. Hayes directed the flow of the repair operations with clear, short commands, guiding them without raising his voice. The aliens around them could not help but stop and watch. Errol, the yellow-skinned scientist, had arrived in the engineering bay moments before the alarm. She had been studying the humans quietly, and now she observed them under stress. Her eyes widened. "This is remarkable," she whispered. She had never seen any species maintain this level of calm and coordination during a crisis. The reactor alarm blared again, as a minor overload threatened the main power grid. Sparks jumped from a damaged control panel. Most aliens shouted, unsure how to act. Commander Hayes did not flinch. "Marcus, redirect the energy to the auxiliary line. Lena, stabilize the conduit. I will monitor flow levels," he instructed. The humans worked as if they had rehearsed this exact scenario hundreds of times. Their hands moved quickly but carefully, and every step was purposeful. They spoke in short phrases, exchanged brief gestures, and adjusted panels and cables with precise timing. The flickering lights stabilized. Sparks stopped. Power returned to normal. The alarm quieted, leaving a ringing echo in the ears of everyone present. Aliens stared in disbelief. Some whispered, How are they doing this? Others muttered, They are not ordinary workers. Even guards who had been skeptical moments ago took cautious steps back, their eyes wide with awe. Errol clapped her hands softly, unable to contain her amazement. Their training, it is beyond anything I have seen, she murmured. She made careful notes on her digital pad. Discipline, focus, teamwork, calm under stress. Once the crisis was contained, Commander Hayes guided his team to check every panel for stability. He spoke in a low, steady voice. Ensure nothing is left unchecked. We cannot leave potential hazards behind. Lena nodded, her hands moving efficiently. Marcus checked control sequences, confirming proper functionality. Every human action was measured, deliberate, and controlled. Aliens could only watch, some with curiosity, others with respect, slowly replacing fear. Captain Threx arrived in the engineering bay shortly after. His forearms moved with tension as he observed the humans. He did not immediately speak, instead watching their every action. Finally, he said, You handled that situation better than my security teams would have. Hayes smiled politely. We focus on the task, Captain. Panic never solves anything. Threx nodded slowly. His mind raced. These humans were not animals. They were capable, disciplined, and calm in situations that would terrify even the most seasoned alien officers. The aftermath of the reactor incident changed the station in subtle ways. Aliens who had once whispered insults now spoke cautiously, sometimes with curiosity. Some even offered to observe the humans in action, quietly, without judgment. Errol returned to her quarters later to review her observations. She had never expected humans to perform so effectively under stress. Her notes detailed every aspect of human behavior during the emergency. Coordination under pressure. Humans acted like a single unit. Calm decision-making. Every action was deliberate, without hesitation. Assistance and awareness. They noticed when others struggled and intervened without drawing attention to themselves. She realized that these traits were just as important as physical enhancements. Humans combined their training with intelligence, discipline, and teamwork. They were efficient but also humble. Meanwhile, across the station, the event had become the talk of the day. Aliens whispered in hallways and mess halls. Many were still wary, but others were intrigued. Even children observed the humans from safe distances, imagining what it would be like to be calm and confident like them. A young alien named Tariq approached Hayes during a break. His hands trembled slightly and he looked nervous. Commander, may I ask something? Hayes smiled gently. Of course, and were you scared during the alarm? Tariq asked. Hayes shook his head calmly. No, fear does not help solve problems. We focus on what we can control and act carefully. Tariq blinked. He had never heard such a response from anyone, alien or otherwise. Slowly he nodded, trying to understand. By mid-cycle, humans had begun to influence the atmosphere of the station. Their quiet confidence inspired those around them. Guards acted more orderly. Scientists moved more deliberately, and even officers began to pause and think before reacting. The humans' calm example created a subtle but growing respect across the station. Errol continued to observe closely. She noticed that humans communicated not only with words but also with subtle body language, brief gestures, and eye contact. Their teamwork was seamless, almost instinctive. Even when faced with unexpected challenges, they adapted immediately without panic. This is rare, she whispered to herself. Few species have this combination of strength, intelligence, and calm discipline. As evening approached, the station quieted. Humans returned to their routine maintenance checks, performing each task with precision. Aliens in the corridors and observation decks continued to watch from a distance, slowly replacing skepticism with admiration. Captain Threx convened a small meeting with his officers. He spoke seriously. Today, humans demonstrated skill, focus, and teamwork beyond what we expected. We should no longer underestimate them. Observe and learn from them. Their presence strengthens the station. The officers nodded. The word animals was no longer in anyone's mind. The humans were no longer workers, they were respected for their unique capabilities. Later that cycle, Errol visited the humans again, this time to speak directly with Hayes. "Commander Hayes," she began, "I have been observing your team for several days. Your performance, it is extraordinary. May I ask, how did you develop such focus and teamwork?" Hayes looked thoughtful. "It comes from years of training and practice. We learn to trust each other, stay calm, and act with purpose. Our enhancements help, but discipline comes first." Errol nodded slowly. She realized the truth. Humans were not relying solely on enhancements. Their success came from patience, practice, and the choice to remain calm under pressure. The rest of the cycle passed without incident, but the atmosphere had changed permanently. Humans were now acknowledged by most aliens as capable and dependable. Whispers of fear had faded into whispers of curiosity. Even Captain Threx began to plan exercises where humans would train security teams in safety and emergency response. In the quiet of the evening, Hayes looked out from a window at the stars. The Aurora Gate floated silently, vast and unbroken. He reflected on the day's events. Rumors had caused tension, yet truth had shown strength. Humans did not need to fight to prove their value. They simply did their work calmly and efficiently. Somewhere deep in the station, sensors quietly picked up a faint signal. Someone far away had noticed the humans' performance. They were watching. Hayes did not know this yet, but he understood one thing clearly. Humans would continue to work, to protect, and to set an example. Their quiet confidence had already begun to change the perception of everyone around them. End of Part 3. The Aurora Gate station floated silently above the planet below. The stars glimmered in the void, reflected on the smooth silver hull. Inside, the station buzzed quietly with activity. Aliens moved from deck to deck, performing their usual tasks. But the station had changed in subtle ways. Humans were no longer ignored or underestimated. Whispers about their capabilities had grown into conversations filled with curiosity and respect. Captain Threx paced slowly in his office. His forearms moved with measured grace as he reviewed the reports of the recent incidents. The humans had proven themselves during the power fluctuation and reactor emergency. Their calm efficiency and teamwork had prevented what could have been a serious catastrophe. He leaned against his desk and considered his next step. Humans were unlike any species he had encountered. They were disciplined, precise, and calm under pressure. Their enhancements were obvious in the scanner reports, but it was not the enhancements that impressed him. It was their control, intelligence, and quiet confidence. Finally, he tapped a communicator. "Summon Commander Hayes and his team to the command deck," he said. His voice was firm, but carried a trace of curiosity. A few minutes later, Hayes, Lena, Marcus, and the other human team members entered the command deck. They moved calmly, carrying their tools and personal kits, and acknowledged the captain with polite nods. "Captain," Hayes said, his voice steady, "you called for us?" Threx regarded him silently for a moment, studying the human leader. Then he spoke. "Your team has proven exceptional. Your performance during the reactor emergency exceeded my expectations. I need to understand something. Your enhancements, what are they and why do you possess them?" Hayes straightened his posture but remained calm. "Captain, our enhancements are tools. They help us perform work efficiently and safely. They are not weapons. We do not use them to dominate or harm anyone. Our training is as important as the enhancements. Discipline, focus, and teamwork come first." Threx listened carefully. He had expected evasive answers, perhaps prideful statements, but Hayes spoke honestly and humbly. The captain felt a strange sense of respect growing within him. "You do not brag about your abilities," Threx said slowly. "You do not show aggression. You simply work and protect. That is unusual among species I've encountered." Hayes smiled gently. "We believe in helping and protecting. Pride is unnecessary. Results matter more than recognition." Threx nodded, impressed. He could see why the aliens on the station had begun to respect humans. It was not just their abilities. It was their behavior, their calm and careful approach, their willingness to assist others without seeking attention. After a moment of silence, Threx spoke again. "I am making a decision. Effective immediately, I will assign humans to leadership roles in station emergency operations. You will train teams in safety procedures, coordination, and emergency response. Your guidance will improve the efficiency and safety of this station. Hayes remained composed. "We will assist as needed, Captain. Our goal is always the safety of the station and its crew." Threx nodded. "Good. I trust you will not abuse this position. I will be observing." The humans nodded politely and left the command deck without delay, returning to their duties with the same calm efficiency as before. Outside the command deck, the aliens who had been watching whispered among themselves. The reputation of humans was changing rapidly. No longer were they seen as weak or simple. They were guardians, disciplined and reliable. Errol observed the scene from a nearby observation deck. She had been taking notes throughout the day. She realized that humans did not need recognition or authority to earn respect. Their actions alone had spoken louder than words ever could. She typed a note into her digital pad. "Humans are not animals. They are guardians. Enhancements aid efficiency, but their discipline and teamwork define them." Her observation confirmed what she had begun to suspect. Humans combined physical capability with mental control in a way that was rare across species. They did not seek conflict. They did not dominate others. They simply acted with purpose. The next hours were quiet but productive. Hayes' team worked on routine maintenance, checking power conduits, repairing minor faults, and inspecting critical systems. Aliens now observed respectfully, some asking for advice or guidance. Humans assisted when appropriate but never made anyone feel inferior. A young alien engineer, Tariq, approached Lena. I would like to learn how to handle this conduit," he said nervously. Lena smiled gently. "Of course. Step by step. Watch me first." She demonstrated the procedure carefully, explaining each action. Tariq followed her instructions with focus, guided by her calm demeanor. He realized that humans did not just complete tasks, they taught others through their behavior. Errol watched quietly, noting the difference in how humans influenced others. "Leadership through calm example," she recorded. "Not by force, not by orders, but by demonstration and steady guidance." As the cycle progressed, Captain Threx called another meeting. He gathered several officers and human team members in the conference room. He addressed the room seriously. Humans have proven themselves capable in emergencies. Their skills and calm demeanor improve the entire station's operations. From now on, their guidance will be incorporated into training protocols for all crew members. Study them. Learn from them. They do not dominate, but they inspire. That is rare, the officers nodded. Some still carried old biases, but most had begun to see humans differently. Their quiet efficiency, focus, and discipline were impossible to ignore. Later, Errol approached Hayes and asked a question she had been considering for days. "Commander Hayes, how do humans maintain calm in emergencies?" she asked. Hayes paused, thinking carefully. "It comes from training, experience, and trust. We trust our team and ourselves. We focus on what we can control and accept what we cannot. Panic never helps. Discipline and preparation do." Errol nodded slowly. She realized the answer was simple but profound. It was not just enhancements that made humans exceptional, it was their mindset. Meanwhile, Captain Threx walked alone through the corridors. He watched humans moving with purpose, assisting aliens, maintaining systems, and responding to minor faults without fuss. The station felt safer with them around. He considered their role carefully. "They do not seek recognition," he said quietly to himself. "They do not seek control. Yet they make this station stronger." It was a thought that stayed with him long after he returned to his office. For the first time, he wondered if humans were more than just workers. They were a model for what discipline, teamwork, and calm efficiency could achieve. As the station entered the night cycle, the lights dimmed to conserve energy. Humans returned to their quarters quietly, performing personal maintenance and reviewing the day's tasks. Their calm continued, unaffected by the whispers and attention around them. Aliens in the corridors and observation decks discussed the humans in hushed tones. Children talked about their discipline and focus, imagining what it would be like to move with such confidence. Even senior officers considered the impact humans could have on long-term operations. Errol returned to her quarters, her mind buzzing with new ideas. She realized she wanted to study humans not to test them, but to understand how they balanced enhancements, discipline, and teamwork. She typed one last note before shutting down her terminal. Humans redefine strength. Physical capability is only part of their power. Discipline, calm, and leadership define them. Far away beyond the station and the planet below, a sensor array picked up unusual signals. Someone or something was monitoring the Aurora Gate. They had noticed the humans' capabilities and efficiency. What they intended was unknown, but it was clear that humans were beginning to draw attention beyond the station. Hayes, unaware of distant observers, focused on the present. He watched over his team, ensuring the station remained safe and systems operated efficiently. He understood that leadership did not always require authority. Sometimes it required quiet guidance and calm presence. The humans had already changed the station without seeking recognition. Aliens had begun to respect them, children admired them, and even the captain learned from them. Their example was spreading, quietly reshaping the culture of the station. And somewhere, far in the darkness of space, observers took note. The enhanced humans of Aurora Gate were no longer ordinary workers. They were disciplined, capable, and calm under pressure. The future was beginning to shift, and humans were at the center, not through force or aggression, but through quiet confidence, teamwork, and skill. End of Part 4. The Aurora Gate station was quieter than usual in the early cycle. The stars outside shone brightly, reflecting off the silver hull. Inside, the station hummed with the normal rhythm of life. Guards patrolled, engineers checked systems, and researchers monitored experiments. Yet a new energy lingered. Aliens spoke differently now. Their tone had changed from skepticism to cautious respect when humans were nearby. Commander Hayes and his team moved through the maintenance corridors, performing routine inspections. Their steps were calm and precise as always, but now they noticed glances of curiosity and admiration from alien workers and officers. The reactor emergency and other incidents had shifted perceptions. Humans were no longer just workers. They had become symbols of calm efficiency and discipline. Lena adjusted a control panel with precise movements. A young alien engineer named Tariq approached, holding a damaged conduit. "Commander Hayes, could you show me the correct way to fix this?" he asked quietly. Hayes smiled gently. "Of course. Watch carefully and I'll guide you." He demonstrated each step slowly and calmly, explaining the reasons behind every action. Tariq followed, learning not just the technical task but also the importance of patience and focus. Errol, watching from a nearby observation deck, nodded approvingly. Humans did not simply perform tasks. They taught others by example. Their enhancements were tools, yes, but their leadership and calm were far more important. Across the station, Captain Threx observed his officers and the humans. He had ordered a small emergency simulation exercise that day. Aliens were to follow human instructions during a controlled scenario, learning how to respond calmly to potential crises. Hayes' team moved through the simulation as usual, calm and methodical. Aliens watched and followed their lead, learning new techniques for coordination and efficiency. Some aliens struggled at first, but humans guided them without raising their voices or showing frustration. Every instruction was concise, every demonstration clear. By the end of the exercise, even the most skeptical officers were impressed. The human team had quietly transformed the way aliens approached emergencies. Threx spoke to his officers afterward. "Observe them. Learn from them. They are not here to dominate but to strengthen this station. Their example is worth following." Some officers nodded thoughtfully. Others remained silent, processing the change in their perspective. In the cafeteria, whispers about humans continued. Aliens now spoke in admiration rather than skepticism. They really are disciplined," one officer said. "They helped during the power failure and kept calm," another replied. "We should not underestimate them again." Children who had once whispered about enhanced humans now spoke of them as heroes, not because of their strength alone, but because of their courage, calmness, and willingness to help. Even alien teachers began to encourage young students to observe the humans' methods and learn from their discipline. The humans had become a model for others, showing that strength combined with calm, intelligent action could inspire respect rather than fear. Later, Errol visited Hayes' team to learn more. "Commander Hayes, I want to understand how humans balance enhancements with discipline," she said. Hayes replied thoughtfully. "Enhancements assist, but they are not everything. The real power comes from focus, training, teamwork, and understanding. Our calm and coordination come first. Enhancements are secondary tools," Errol nodded. "It is rare to see such balance. Most species rely on strength or aggression. Humans, you lead without force. Hayes smiled gently. We believe in guidance, not dominance. Results come from teamwork, not showing power. Errol typed notes rapidly into her pad. She realized humans' leadership was quiet but powerful, shaping the perception of everyone around them. The following cycles brought more change. Humans were now invited to guide small teams of aliens in emergency procedures. They taught coordination, calm problem-solving, and attention to detail. Their approach was always gentle and respectful. Aliens quickly began to follow their lead, discovering that efficiency and safety improved when they listened to humans calmly. Even Captain Threx started to rely on their guidance. During minor emergencies, he called on Hayes' team first. Their calm, precise actions prevented problems from escalating and demonstrated leadership without authority. Aliens began to speak openly of the humans' abilities. Terms like discipline, teamwork, and calm confidence replaced the old insults of animals or weak. The station's culture shifted subtly, but permanently. One evening, Hayes and his team returned to their quarters. The corridors were quiet, but the subtle change in atmosphere was noticeable. Aliens greeted them respectfully, some even smiling as they passed. For the first time, humans realized the depth of the shift. Their actions had inspired trust and respect, not through force but through example. Hayes spoke softly to his team. We have changed the station, not by showing power but by showing calm, focus, and teamwork. Remember, this is the way forward. Help others without seeking recognition. Teach without boasting, Lena nodded. They notice, but we do not seek it. That is the difference, Marcus added. Our work speaks for itself. Hayes smiled. Exactly. Meanwhile, Errol continued her studies. She observed the humans interact with aliens, guide simulations, and manage emergencies. She noticed patterns. They remained calm under stress. They taught quietly through example. They inspired respect without using authority. She realized that humans' reputation was growing because of these qualities, not because of enhancements alone. Humans are shaping this station, she wrote in her notes. They are becoming leaders without demanding it. Their presence strengthens everyone around them. The next day, Captain Threx called another meeting. This time, he addressed both human and alien teams together. Humans have demonstrated skill, calm, and leadership, Threx said. From now on, they will assist in training all teams for safety and emergency protocols. Observe them. Learn from their calm approach and discipline. They do not seek dominance, but their example strengthens us all. Aliens listened carefully, many with a new sense of respect. Children, guards, and officers began to see humans in a new light. They were no longer weak workers or animals. They were capable, disciplined, and calm leaders in their own right. Far above the station, in the void of space, distant sensors recorded signals from the Aurora Gate. Someone or something had been monitoring the humans' actions and efficiency. Observers took note of the calm, capable humans, understanding that they were no ordinary workers. Back on the station, humans continued their routines. Hayes, Lena, Marcus, and their team moved calmly through the halls, performing maintenance, guiding aliens, and observing systems. They never sought attention or recognition. Their quiet confidence spoke louder than words, and their reputation continued to grow naturally. At night, Hayes looked out a window at the stars. Aurora Gate glimmered against the black void. He reflected on the changes in the station. Aliens now respected humans. Children admired them. Even Captain Threx had learned lessons from their calm leadership. He realized that humans had already achieved something rare: influence without force, respect without dominance. Their quiet guidance had reshaped the culture of an entire space station. Errol, in her quarters, reviewed her notes once more. She realized humans had a new kind of power, one that relied on discipline, calm, teamwork, and example rather than aggression or authority. She smiled softly. This is rare, she whispered. They truly are extraordinary. As the cycle ended, the humans rested, unaware of how far their influence had spread. Aliens continued to whisper, now with admiration and curiosity rather than mockery. Children spoke of humans as examples of calm confidence. Officers quietly studied their methods. Even far away, distant observers noted the humans' skills and reputation. They were becoming known not as simple workers or animals, but as disciplined, capable beings, guardians of the station, respected and trusted by all. Hayes turned from the window and spoke quietly to his team. Tomorrow we continue as always, calm, focused, and ready to help. Let our actions teach, not our words. His team nodded in agreement. The quiet confidence that had built their reputation would continue to guide them. And the station itself had changed forever. Humans had earned their place, not through power, not through aggression, but through discipline, teamwork, and calm confidence. They were no longer seen as animals, they were leaders, teachers, and guardians.